What's good, beautiful people? Welcome to Curious Arnie. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Today's question, what's the pettiest thing you've ever done that you're still proud of? Story 1. When I finally broke up with my ex for cheating after 5 years. He cheated on me with his ex, so I packed all his stuff neatly while he was at work, all in boxes, and I labeled everything and bubble wrapped the delicate stuff. Dropped it off at his ex's house and put a tarp over it so nobody would steal anything. Very immature, but very proud of still because I was stuck, and I was able to finally move on. Story 2. My coworker kept bragging he was indispensable, so I stopped reminding him of deadlines. He missed 3. He's very dispensable now. About 5 minutes later, I see him again, walking toward the bathroom. I immediately have a brilliant idea. I tell my grandma, I'm going to go back to the produce section and hurry off. I found his cart quickly because he had a lot of water stacked in it. I wheel the cart off in the opposite direction and take it to the other side of the store and wedge it in a corner out of everyone's way near the employee entrance. Walked back to Grandma with a big smile on my face. While in the checkout line, I saw him walking around confused with a really ugly mug. Grandma asked why I was smiling so much. I just told her I remembered something funny. Story 4. This was around 15 years ago, but I just thought about it and I figured it fits pretty well. My friend's boyfriend broke up with her in a really shitty way. I honestly don't remember the details. It was just dumb teenager stuff. He worked part-time as a dishwasher at a restaurant and had complained that washing glasses with lipstick on the rim was the thing he hated the most. We knew he worked on Saturday mornings, so the following Saturday we went there for brunch and just ordered a bunch of juices, smoothies, coffees, fresh glasses of water, etc. And we would apply a fresh layer of lipstick before drinking in any of them. He must have hated that shift. It was very petty, but my friend was feeling way better after. Story 5. Once I was standing in line at a tourist attraction in Berlin. It was a tourist queue, so obviously there were a lot of cultural differences there. A couple cut in and started taking pictures, so I just started booing loudly. Apparently the people in line were super tired of cheats, because even the shy-looking Asian girls in front of us started booing until the couple left. Petty works, but booing is forever. Also, it's fun. Story 6. While in college, I had the loudest neighbor, and our walls weren't even particularly thin. I never heard any other neighbors. She exclusively took all her calls on speakerphone and shouted everything she said. She also played the recorder. Are there seriously college classes teaching the recorder? What the F? To say that she drove me absolutely insane was an understatement. One day I overheard her on the phone with her mother, absolutely losing it because her vag was super itchy, asking for advice for relief and whether or not she needed to go see her doctor. As luck would have it, I was getting ready to go grocery shopping when I overheard all this and decided to pick her up some Vagisil. Left a note that says, "Hope this helps. Also, you may want to stop taking all your calls on speakerphone." Apparently, that was all it took for her to find her indoor voice. I never heard another word out of her. Alexandria, if you're reading this, I hope it was nothing serious. Reply, it was the least you could do. Story 7. A year ago, I got to give my mother's husband, my stepfather, a taste of his own actions. He is the most dirtiest person ever. He left hair all over the bathroom, took a bath and did not clean after, left pee stains all over the toilet seat and bathroom floor, and would sometimes take a shit and not flush. I got tired of having to clean the bathroom before using it every morning, so I started off lightly with sending a picture of his doo-doo to my mom every time he did not flush. When he left hair all over the bathroom, I cleaned the hair with his toothbrush and finished off with a clean wipe using his face cloth. Every time he left pee stains, I used his face cloth to wipe it and hang it without washing it. When he took a bath and left without cleaning, I used his face cloth to wipe majority of the dirt. He woke up every day complaining that his face cloth smelled funny and his toothbrush had hair. Of course, we all brushed it off. After 2 good weeks, he started behaving and keeping the bathroom clean. Everything was okay when I left, but I recently came back from college to find him back to his old ways. So I will be continuing with my work, along with a new few tricks. I hope this time he will learn to be clean. Story 8. There's a coffee shop I go to every morning before work. Small place, usually has a line of 5 to 6 people. There's this one guy who would show up, see the line, and then pretend to just remember he needed to ask the barista a question. He'd walk up to the counter, ask something stupid like what size the medium is, and then conveniently just order while he was already up there. He did this at least 4 times that I witnessed. Nobody ever called him out because confrontation before coffee isn't worth it. So I started playing the same game. Whenever I'd see him walk in and start heading toward the counter with his "I have a question" routine, I'd quickly step out of line and beat him to it. Then I'd ask the most annoying, time-consuming questions possible. What's the difference between a latte and a cappuccino again? Do you have oat milk? What about almond, soy? Which one froths better? Can you explain your whole pastry selection? And then I'd say, oh, actually, let me get back in line and think about it, and go back to my spot. He'd be stuck standing there looking like an idiot. After about a week of this, he started just waiting in line like a normal person. Problem solved. Haven't seen him try to cut since. Story 9. This was 20-something years ago, but it still makes me laugh. When I was 17, my best friend and I both earned our Eagle Scout Award around the same time. It's common practice to have a banquet dinner to celebrate the achievement, and since we were best friends and completed our projects around the same time, we opted to have one joint celebration. It was a nice potluck-style dinner with all of the scouts and their families. Later in the evening, my best friend noticed I had the last homemade chocolate chip cookie on my plate. These were made by one of the scouts' mothers and were highly prized because they were amazing. He asked me if I was going to eat it, and I said yes. He licked his finger and wiped it on the top of the cookie and asked if I still wanted it. I said, fine, you can have it, and licked the bottom of the cookie and set it on his plate. Lick my cookie? Two can play that game. Story 10. High school revenge. I still remember 50 years later. My English class was during the 3-period lunch. 25 minutes of class, off to lunch, then back for 25 more minutes of class. It's springtime, and all the kids have water pistols, including me. I come walking into English class. Male teacher is at his desk, and I got hosed by 4 guys with water pistols. It was a trap. They nailed me good. Damn teacher just ignored my impromptu shower. Lunchtime. Everyone leaves, except I am back in the classroom 2 minutes later. I go up to the teacher's desk. His chair is an old wooden one with deep scallops in the seat for butt cheeks. I open up my water pistol refill spout and pour it all into the left cheek. Then out the door, refill, back in, and fill the right butt cheek. Come class time. I intercept the teacher and walk with them to the classroom. Soon as his back is to the class, the other guy's water guns come out, and you'd have to be deaf to miss the squeak of the triggers being pulled. The teacher still ignores the fact I am soaked again. Then he sits down. His eyes go wide. He makes a shocked sound. Those 4 guys giggle. That was 50 years ago, and I will never forget the look of shock on his face. LOL. He grabs up those 4 kids and hauls them to the principal's office. All got a month of detention. Story 11. At the end of a relationship about 8 years ago now, my then partner and I split, and I was moving out of the place we shared because he owned it. He was a jerk, and our relationship ended with physical abuse. I had not long before spent serious time and money putting in garden beds all the way around the house. Many of my flowers were expensive, and I told him I planned to take them out and plant them at my new place. He agreed. While getting large pots at the garden center, I saw they had catnip seeds. Now I knew catnip could be hard to grow, but that's pretty much all I knew about it at the time. In a fit of spite, I bought a ton of catnip seeds and seeded the newly empty beds with them. I figured, because I'd been told they were very difficult to propagate, that maybe a few plants might pop up and attract neighborhood cats, and he'd have to weed them out. It would be a minor annoyance for him. That's all I ever intended it to be. In fact, after I didn't think about it again until recently, I happened to have a new client in his neighborhood that I met with for the first time yesterday. I drove by his house and saw that it had a for sale sign in front of it, and there were like 6 cats in the yard. I asked my new client about it and learned that while catnip is difficult to propagate once it does, it's basically an invasive species, and apparently I planted it at just the right time of year because it propagated quite well and has been spreading ever since. It took over the yard, and he's tried getting rid of it in multiple ways, and every time it just comes back worse. I was informed that if you drive by in the summer with the windows down, that whole end of the street smells like a litter box. I genuinely feel bad because it really was only supposed to be a minor inconvenience. Story 12. This is sort of ongoing petty revenge, but my God, was the wind-up to my current situation satisfying. Note that I'm omitting some details due to our industry and how public-facing we both are. So, this girl was my friend for about 5 years. We always got along and were very close, especially because we both worked in entertainment. She was an up-and-coming actor, and I was a casting associate at the time. I've since been promoted. A few years back, I landed a project as a writing consultant. There was a role in the project that was perfect for her. She told me over and over how desperately she wanted this role, so I managed to get her in the room for an audition. She blew it. She's not a bad actor, but she was definitely having a bad day. When she found out she didn't get the role, it was suddenly entirely my problem. I set her up. I didn't warn her how intense the audition would be. I didn't vouch for her enough. It was so intimidating and impersonal to see me behind the table as a professional instead of a friend, etc., etc. I tried to explain that I wasn't even on the primary casting team for this one, but she wasn't having it. Our whole friendship blew up over this, but not before I got her a job in the hair and makeup department of another project. She tolerated me until that contract was signed and then ended our friendship the very next day and proceeded to try to systematically turn our mutual friends against me. One of the last things she said to me was, "Someday I'm going to be famous and you'll still be nobody." Here's the fun part. I have since made it my personal mission to ensure that her acting career goes absolutely nowhere. My greatest success was a couple of years back. I was working on a project that was pretty major. Not set for life, star-making role kind of major, but your foot is now in the door kind of thing. They wanted an actress just like her, down to the height and hair color. I was doing more consulting/management for this project and less direct casting. The actual casting director waltzed into my office one day, brought her up by name, and asked if I had her number. I was floored. Apparently, he had seen her in something else we collaborated on years ago and remembered her. He asked if I recommended her. I got to personally tell him that she was unprofessional and that I didn't recommend ever hiring her. He took it to heart. She lost what could have been her breakthrough role because of me. I mostly avoid anything to do with her unless her name or headshot comes up at my work, but I did recently look her up and she remains obscure. She recently posted about losing her apartment and having to crash on a friend's couch because she's just having such bad luck with the acting thing lately. Part of that bad luck is almost certainly me. I can't bring myself to feel bad. Story 13. I have this friend, Mark, who's a human Twitter notification. If a new episode drops at 3 a.m., by 3:05 he's in the group chat like, "OMG when X dies in the first scene." And then follows it with, "LOL, sorry bro, should have watched it earlier." I muted him, asked him nicely, even tried watching stuff earlier, but I have a job and a life. Mark apparently doesn't. A couple months ago, everyone in our friend group got obsessed with this new sci-fi show, and I was actually keeping up for once. Of course, Mark still managed to text me mid-commute with, "Wait till you see episode 5. I snapped a little and decided, okay, game on. I found out he hadn't started it yet because he was saving it to binge. So I went on Reddit, saw some theories, then made up my own completely fake plot. Main character secretly a clone, love interest betrays him, the dog is an alien spy, whole thing set inside a simulation. I dropped this massive wall of spoilers in the chat like, can't believe they revealed all this in episode 3 LMAO. Mark lost it and rage typed about how I ruined it for him, how he was going to delete the app, blah blah. Couple weeks later, he finally binge-watched it and realized literally none of what I said happens at all. He came back with a half-hearted, "You're such a jerk," but he has not spoiled a single thing since. Now, if he starts to type too much about a show, someone just says, "Careful, might be a clone dog situation," and he shuts up real quick. Story 14. Years before everyone had a cell phone, I was at a club. I noticed my friend's boyfriend from numerous photos. I knew he cheated on her. She caught him once and she forgave him. I can't stand this guy even though I had never met him in person until now. So he notices me and starts flirting with me. I gave him a fake name and pretended to flirt back a little bit. He ultimately asked me for my phone number. I took a napkin, that's how we did it in the old days, and wrote my fake name and his real girlfriend's phone number on a napkin. I guess he was tipsy because he didn't recognize the phone number. Later that night, he called and asked for Jill, not my friend's name. She shared the story with me and I didn't fess up in the moment. She broke up with him soon after that. A few months later, she met the most amazing man, who she ended up marrying. I broke the news to her then. She was grateful and actually thought it was hilarious. Story 15. Back in school, there was this one kid in my class who always had to be the center of attention. His name was Ricky. There's always a Ricky. One afternoon in English class, Ricky was sat behind me. Ricky wasn't exactly academically inclined, and so on this afternoon, Ricky had decided that his entertainment was going to consist of him kicking the back of my chair at random intervals. I just ignored it for a while, but near the end of the lesson, my patience finally snapped, and I turned around and gave Ricky the middle finger. Immediately, Ricky started pointing at me and yelling at our teacher, Sir, he swore at me, he swore at me." Now, there's two things you need to know. Firstly, this was a Christian school in the mid-1990s. Swearing was a big deal. Secondly, in the UK, there used to be two different ways of giving the finger. One was the middle finger, and the other was raising the index finger as well in a V shape. Anyway, the teacher comes over to investigate Ricky's yelling. He looks over at me, and I immediately deny everything. The teacher sighs and asks me to follow him out of the room. Once in the hallway, he turns to me and asks again if I swore at Ricky. I continue my denials. Then he says, "Okay, but if you were going to give somebody the finger, how would you do it?" "Well, sir, I don't really know," I reply. Please note at this point that butter wouldn't melt in my lying mouth. "But if I was forced to, I guess." At this point, I reluctantly performed the two-fingered V version for my teacher. Please note, this is not the one-fingered version I'd actually used. The teacher nods and sends me back into the classroom before calling Ricky out instead. I didn't get to hear that conversation, but I can only assume that Ricky was asked to describe how I gave him the middle finger and that his answer was inconsistent with my own. After a couple of minutes, an extremely unhappy Ricky was forced to come back into the class and apologize to both myself and the whole class for causing disruption. How I managed to keep the smirk of my face, I'll never know. Thanks for watching Curious Arnie. Please don't forget to subscribe and like if you want more content like this. Until next time, God bless and keep that inner fire burning.